How's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. What the fuck is going on in the universe for April 13th through 4/20? Yes, 4/20 is this Monday. I hope you guys celebrate it safely. It's not like you're going to be going out and doing anything anyway, so you might as well get home and or stay home and get high. But anyway, this week, are you guys into like edging or like really like to be teased, but not like to like finish? Because if you're into that, you're gonna love this week. If you're not into that, this week might be kind of frustrating. Let me pull up this week's highlights. We have Venus trining Mars, but not fully. So Venus is slowing down. Mars is, gaining up a little bit more speed. Or it's not really gaining speed. Mars is just moving. And as Venus is slowing down, Venus is just about to trine Mars, and it just doesn't happen this week. They get about 1 degree away, and we'll be talking more about that when it happens. But this week, it's just kind of like, you want Venus to trine Mars. Venus is in Gemini, she's in shadow now. We're about to have the eclipses here. We've got all this energy coming forth, and Mars, is wanting to give that to Venus, wanting to be like, hell yeah, like, let's express that. But Mars is in Aquarius, and it's just kind of not gonna get there this week. So this is going to be kind of an interesting thing, and I bring this up really big because, there's a few other things going on this week I'll get to in a second, but I'm bringing this up just because there's not a lot going on this week, so I feel like we're really going to feel this more than anything else. Besides that, we're going to be having Venus sextile Mercury, while Mercury is going to be like sextiling Mars, so there's this harmonious communication between all of it, but it just like doesn't happen. And so I think that's going to kind of like, Mercury's in Aries, like we're wanting that mental stimulation, we're wanting to communicate, express, like, let's just say it. And so that all that's working, but the connection, the Venus to the Mars thing, it's just not happening. And then the sun's going to go into Taurus. So things are going to be kind of chill. We're going to actually start maybe enjoying lounging around in the house a little bit more. We'll just start accepting it. And then sun's also going to square Saturn, which I don't want to say then we won't accept it, but sun squaring Saturn is just kind of like, we don't want to be forced to be comfortable, you know what I mean? Like, that's such an Aquarius thing. Like, they'll do it, but if it's like they're told to do it, then they won't do it. So I feel like sun squaring Saturn is like, we want to be like, usually we want to be comfy, cozy, relaxed, and shit like that. And but if the authority's telling us to do it, we're kind of like, no, I don't want to do that. I actually want to resist. But anyway, let's just jump into the horoscope. So we start off this week with the moon in Capricorn. It's kind of just chilling in Capricorn on Monday. So it's going to feel a little bit serious. It's going to feel a little bit real. I feel like in the news, now that the moon's kind of like starting to make its way through Capricorn into Aquarius, and now that the malefics are out of Capricorn, I feel like it's going to be a little bit lighter, but then it gets a little bit more intense as the moon goes into Aquarius, which we'll talk about. But as the moon's in Capricorn on Monday, this is just going to be a time to, like I always fucking say, the moon's in Capricorn. It's not maybe the best time to get super emotional. It's kind of like more of a good time to like let go of those emotions, like work through your emotions. Like if your house is dirty or if you need to catch up on work, like Monday's going to be a really busy day. But then we jump into Tuesday on the 14th. And that's when the moon's going to make that conjunction to Jupiter and Pluto before it ingresses. And it's kind of like the moon in Capricorn's like doing its thing at work, working the 9 to 5. And then all of a sudden boss comes in and it's like, hey, I need you to do this huge thing for me right now. I need you to drop everything. And it's kind of like, ugh. And so as the moon conjoins Jupiter and Pluto, there might be this like upheaval of like this, like, oh, I got to do this now. Oh, this is what I got to start working on. This is, I feel like I have to put all of this ambition and put all of this energy into it. And so as the moon conjoins Jupiter and Pluto, you might be very focused on whatever that's going to really look like on Tuesday. But that's kind of it. On Wednesday, as we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to move into Aquarius, where this is where, again, it's cool, I guess. It's Aquarius. It's not as serious as Capricorn, but with Mars and Saturn there, it's uncomfortable. And the moon's going to go into Aquarius. It's going to conjoin Saturn. It's going to conjoin Mars, and it's going to be trining. And it's going to be trining Venus. I put the moon's going to trine Moon. Mercury was still in Pisces when I wrote this. Anyway, as the moon conjoins Saturn and conjoins Mars and trines Venus, there's this sense of like playfulness with the ideas that we can have about like, all right, straight up, we're in isolation. People are getting like super creative with how we communicate, how we relate to people. Like, a personal, like, I feel like I've been more social since the social distancing than, like, I've been more social than ever been in my life. Like, I'm talking to people every day, you know, doing this with this group chat with this people and blah blah. Like, it's just, there's so much talking, and I don't know about you guys, I feel like I hang out with people way more than I did when, you know, we can go outside and hang out with people. But as the moon's like in Aquarius, this is kind of like that time of kind of like, hey, you know, we're in lockdown, this kind of sucks, but how can we, you know, take this on in a constructive way? You know what I mean? It's not something really we can kind of resist. It's something that, you know, you kind of have to not necessarily welcome in, but it's something that you have to, you know, realize, and it's something that you have to work with. And luckily, we do have Venus trining the moon while it's going through here. So again, like, let's make it fun while we can, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be forever. Things are gonna eventually change. And things do really suck right now. So like, take in the fun energy while it's here. And I think that's kind of like what we should be looking forward to on Wednesday. Not like being like, oh, I'm social distanced and, you know, I'm all by myself. And it can be really easy to feel that way, but it's gonna be up to you to reach out and make those connections, to make it fun, to make it enjoyable with what you can, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's basically Wednesday. Then we'll be jumping into Thursday. And the Thursday is basically the same thing. It's just the moon in Aquarius. And this is where it may not be so playful. This might be where it gets a little bit more serious. You know, it's fun at first, and then we're kind of like, okay, but reality is, you know, we're fucking stuck inside. And on Thursday, I just think, you know, this is Aquarius. You know, I talked a lot about the Saturn going into Aquarius when it ingressed, and how, you know, Capricorn is kind of like an office building. Like, you know, no windows, no AC, no heat. Like, it's like you just do your work, you do your boring work in your boring cubicle. Aquarius, it's like you still have to do that work, but it's kind of like Google's like headquarters. Like, apparently, I don't know. I'm just speaking from what the internet told me, but apparently the internet says the Google like office place is like super fun and super cool. And this isn't to say like, oh, make your work like super fun and super cool, like a playground, but this is about like, how can we still do what we need to do, and make it more enjoyable if we have to do it. And I think that's an important thing with Mars and Saturn. And the thing is too, it's also not about being distracted by the play, but increasing basically your surroundings, increasing the enjoyment of your environment, so you can be more productive, so you can produce better work, so you can work smarter and not harder. And I think that's also a really important thing to think about while Saturn is going to be in Aquarius for this little bit. Saturn is going to go back into Capricorn, but that difference between Saturn and Capricorn and Aquarius is the difference between working hard and working smart. And I think that's just going to be an important realization for us as we're, you know, kind of dealing with what we're fucking dealing with right now. Then as we get into Friday on April 17th, that's when we're going to be having the moon move into Pisces, make a nice little sextile to Uranus. You know, the moon's just going to be in Pisces. It's not really like, yeah, it's going to be sextiling Uranus. It's eventually going to be sextiling, you know, Jupiter, Pluto. It's going to eventually make the conjunction to Neptune. We already know. So, you know, while the moon's in Pisces this time, I think it's about getting like, you know, I kind of talk about this usually with the moon in Pisces, but like, we're all inside, we're all doing our own thing. Like, let's get real with ourselves. Let's get like raw, let's get vulnerable. You know, this is a great time to, you can't really hide away. You can't distract yourself from the things that, you know, you need to like address in your life. We don't have those distractions at the moment. So you can be really stuck with a lot of, you know, things that you're used to avoiding, that you're used to, not even necessarily intentionally avoiding, but subconsciously avoiding. And I think this moon in Pisces transit, especially just any type of transit that allows you to kind of like get real with yourself during this time, is going to be really beneficial to go like, hey, you know, what do I need to kind of realize? What do I need to bring situational awareness of? Jupiter's in Capricorn right now, so this is a great time to kind of fix things up. It's not necessarily about, you know, completely, well, Jupiter is conjoining Pluto, so this might be about completely renovating things. You know what I mean? Jupiter in Capricorn, it's kind of like getting that hands-on experience of learning and understanding how you can build this, how you can reshape whatever it is that you're doing. And I think the moon in Pisces just kind of being aware, moon in Pisces not having anywhere to hide, being very real, being very, you know, honest. This is going to be a really good time to just focus on the things that are, the things that it's so easy to push behind you and put on the back burner. If those come up, deal with it. You know what I mean? Do something new. Fuck it. Why not? There's nothing else better to do. Seriously. That's why, I mean, I've been realizing that too. Like, I've been trying to change a lot of my behaviors and stuff like that. That's almost even like a personal share. That might even be a little biased from me. But I don't know. I've just been realizing like, man, you're here, you're doing your thing. Like there's nothing else better to do but to like, you know, make some changes. You know what I mean? We're not that busy, let's be honest. Like we have things to do, but we can also, you know, change something for good. But then we get into Saturday, and then that Venus trine Mars at 1 degree, it's gonna be about, yeah, it's just not going to exactly hit. They'll be about a degree apart. So Venus just slows down a little bit too much, and Mars is just moving a little bit too fast. And it's gonna be a little bit of a tease. It's gonna be kind of like, you know, we're gonna really enjoy, you know, again, having fun, doing things differently. Mars in Aquarius, trining Venus in Gemini, but it's just not gonna hit like it used to. And so this might be a little bit bummy, but, and I mean that in the sense of like, I don't want to say this is depressing because it's not that bad. This is more of like, it just sucks. It's just frustrating. And so I think as we get into the weekend, things are going to be a little bit different. We might kind of have to force ourselves to do, like, you know, if this is kind of a tease, it's kind of like we want to have all this fun, but we can't really do it the way that we want to. It's like, how do we actually get that stimulation, that social, like that social connection that Venus and Gemini wants right now? And on Saturday as well, the moon's going to conjoin Neptune as it squares Venus. And so there's this, and something too that I think is going to get brought up while the moon is in Pisces conjoining Neptune squaring Venus is kind of like, why do I feel like I need to connect? Why is this weird? Like Venus is Gemini squaring Neptune coming up. Moon's going to be squaring Venus while it's in Pisces. There's going to be a lot of confusion over like, all right, where do I need to connect? How do I need to connect? How do I get the, like, I have these wants, these needs, and the desires. How do I fulfill that in this different and new way? How do I make those connections still, keep those? How do I, you know, I don't know. I think it's just going to be a kind of a weird time. And there's not going to be right or wrong to this. You know what I mean? That's the joy. I think that's the good thing about Neptune, because I do talk a lot of shit about Neptune. But the good thing about Neptune is there's no right or wrong. It's kind of based on like your preferences, and there's no, you know, right way to go about things. There's no wrong way. So do what works best for you. Do what's going to make most sense for you. And we're also going to be having on Saturday Venus sextile Mercury, and Mercury is going to be sextiling Mars and Venus. And so there's going to be this great time to really, I think this is going to be a really good time to like express, communicate things. Yes, Mercury's in Aries, things are going to be kind of blunt, but this does make things kind of, you know, just easy to talk about. It's air and fire. Ideas and conversations are a little bit more lighthearted, and they're easier to digest. They're easier to process. So I think this weekend is going to be kind of interesting in a weird way. So I wish I could say more about it, but we're living in weird times, so I don't really know. Anyway, we get into Sunday, and then sun's going to go into Taurus, and the moon's going to sextile Jupiter. And as the sun moves into Taurus, there's this sense of, you know, we're into the first fixed sign of the year. Fixed signs, things are stable, things are growing, things are like, it is now officially spring. The grass is growing, the birds are chirping, things are coming out, everyone, all the mammals want to fuck. And as we get into that position where things are kind of like fixated on that growth, on that fertility, on that stableness and that security, I think there is going to be some benefit to it. There's going to be a little bit of a ease of tension and pressure. But the one thing that I think is going to be interesting as we get into Monday is the Sun square Saturn. But hold on, let me finish Sunday. The moon's going to sextile Jupiter. And I think this is after we go through this whole moon and Pisces transit. This is where it's like, okay, this is where we can kind of understand where we need to fix things up, where we really need to change things, where we really need to kind of apply some pressure to really revamp something. And things may not all the way be clear, but at least the idea of what needs to be, what topic needs to be addressed is going to definitely be prevalent. And then we get into Monday, and Monday's when the moon's going to be going into Aries and the sun's going to square Saturn. And the sun square Saturn is kind of like, again, it's going to, like, yes, we're enjoying sitting on our couches and lounging, and, you know, in one perspective, it's going to be enjoyable to not do anything in a sense, but it's also going to be frustrating that you're being forced to do it. And there's going to be this weird tension that we're going to be really experiencing the first of, because now that Saturn's in Aquarius, the sun's going to square it. Eventually Uranus is going to square Saturn too, and that's going to be more into next year. And so just for a quick, huge preview, after the Mars retrograde this year, As we go into January of next year, Mars is going to slowly go through Taurus and conjoin Uranus. And during that time, it's going to square Saturn. It's going to square Jupiter. Saturn's going to be squaring Uranus. Jupiter's going to be squaring Uranus and Taurus. We're going to be seeing a lot of this Taurus and Aquarius square. And this, you know, as the sun moves into Taurus and starts squaring Saturn, I think we're really going to start seeing the very first of it. So kind of be aware as we start next week. And that's also when we start 420 too. So again, make sure you do it responsibly. I mean, I don't really care. Just get high, enjoy it, relax. And especially if you guys don't smoke weed, you have nothing else better to do. Try it, relax a little bit. Yeah, and the moon goes into Aries. So next week's gonna be kind of interesting. And I'll talk more about that as we go into next week. And then next week as well, we're gonna be having the new moon in Taurus, you know, kind of getting stable and secure in weird ways, in newer ways. Sun is gonna conjoin Uranus, Mercury is gonna square Jupiter. That's gonna be a little frustrating. I feel like Mercury gonna square Jupiter. Ooh, now that I think of it, that does not sound good for the post office, nor does it sound good about getting the checks out. Sounds like Mercury's gonna not do well about that. But also, Mercury's gonna then move into Taurus, which is gonna be a little bit interesting. The mail might move a little bit slower, even though Mercury flies through Taurus. But anyway, we'll talk about that next week. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, see you next week.